Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? It's your girl here, MJ's Nia. Welcome to the channel. Yes, I wanted to talk about some things that I've been seeing and what's going on in New York. And I'm first going to start off with this NYC person of interest charged in killing of a woman found in a sleeping bag. The reason why I'm discussing this is because they said that the crime rate had went down in NYC. I'm just saying this is what the mayor said, and it seemed like the citizens are getting tired of it. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna break it down. I'm gonna try not to. This video might be long, but I'm gonna try to break it down as much as I can as to why I'm talking about this. But let me play this video for you right now.
Breaking news this morning, the person of interest in the murder of a woman from Kips Bay is now facing a charge in connection to her death.
Yeah, this happened after yesterday's police taking him into custody, is what I was trying to say, when family and neighbors attacked him while he was being taken away by the paramedics for an unrelated incident. Good day's Briella Tomasetti live outside the 13th Precinct Station House in Gramercy right now, where this case continues to be updated hour by hour.
Yeah, Kurt and Rosanna, that's exactly right. Good morning to both of you. And again, this is new information we just received in the last hour. Police have identified that man as 55-year-old Chad Irish. He has been charged with concealment of a human corpse in connection with the Yasmin Williams case. But investigators have not, at this point, charged him with her murder. He is currently being held here at the 13th Precinct. An angry mob chased down the 55-year-old man who's being looked at as a person of interest in the murder of Yasmin Williams. He was wheeled out of his home by first responders, handcuffed to a gurney, and then taken into the back of an ambulance as the infuriated crowd followed closely behind, throwing punches and even shouting, "Kill him."
Get that out of here.
The melee happened in Kips Bay, right around the corner from where Williams's body was found Friday evening, stuffed inside a sleeping bag next to a pile of trash left out on the sidewalk. Police have confirmed that the 31-year-old woman died from a gunshot wound to the head and have ruled her death a homicide. They say the 55-year-old man was initially taken into custody in connection with another incident, but later questioned about the death of Yasmin Williams.
She meant everything to me. It was my baby. She was an angel. She was a light.
Sources tell Fox 5 that investigators have surveillance video showing a man in an electric wheelchair dragging Williams's body to the curb. That's what reportedly led family members, including her distraught mother, to the NYCHA complex where the 55-year-old man was apprehended.
And she's going to get justice.
All right, so you just saw that video of this man. He killed this young lady. You can see the whole town. I mean, the whole people in that area, they're so upset. They're angry. They ought to be. But I also want to bring something out. I forgot to mention this earlier. YouTube doesn't allow you to show certain images, and also topics like these, if this video might not get pushed. So hopefully you guys are able to see this, because YouTube tend to hide these type of videos where I talk about real issues that's going on in certain communities or things like that. But I'm not trying to offend anyone. I just want people to be aware of situations that's going on in their state. They probably already know about, but I just want to know your thoughts on it. So I just want to put that out there, okay? But yes. We're going to go further on, and we're going to discuss further as to what's going on with the crime rate. Is it low or is it high? I'm going to share multiple articles and videos on this, so it's going to get deep. So like I say, I hope I don't offend anybody, but I really did want to discuss this for a long time. I've discussed California. I might put a video, or not a clip, but like a picture or something on the image. You can see it. I might put a link down below in the description, but all these videos and stuff are going to be a link down. The articles, the links, they're going to be in the description box. But yeah, we're going to discuss a lot of things around New York crime rate. What are the things that's causing it? Why are things it seems like things are more out of control. Like there's always, like I say, there's crime all over the globe, but it seemed like I just want to focus right now on New York. It seemed like it's getting more and more tense, so to speak. But let me go ahead and play this first video for you guys.
This week, a deadly rampage in Far Rockaway. plus violence inside New York City schools.
You send your kid to school to be safe. It's crazy.
And horror stories from strap hangers.
It's really difficult to feel safe.
Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are the crimes across the 5 boroughs. We begin this week in Queens, where a man kills 4 of his own family members in a stabbing rampage.
Such an awful story to have to report on. Family members, though, in the Bronx knew that 38-year-old Courtney Gordon was a growing threat to their safety. His erratic behavior forcing his own aunt and cousin to set up cameras inside their home. They even started locking the doors to their rooms before finally kicking him out. And another aunt is fighting for her life here at New York Presbyterian after Gordon turned on her and repeatedly stabbed her.
We just told him he can't be here anymore because he's causing too much trouble.
The family of 38-year-old Courtney Gordon began to suspect that he was suffering from mental health issues earlier this year. Sean McCoy says his cousin's behavior continued to decline until it took a drastic turn for the worse this week.
As a cousin, I tried my best to try to get him a job, try to work with him, and it just wasn't working out.
Gordon stabbed 4 of his family members to death early Sunday morning. Police have identified the victims as 11-year-old Miklia James, 12-year-old Rogine Davis, 44-year-old Suzette Taylor Davis, and Richmond Davis, who was in his 30s. Gordon also stabbed his 61-year-old aunt, the woman who took him in, who is now clinging to life at New York Presbyterian Hospital in Queens. According to the NYPD, he lit the front of the home on fire before walking out with a suitcase and stabbing 2 responding officers. One of the cops fired at Gordon to stop him. Gordon was pronounced dead at the hospital, and this kitchen knife was recovered at the scene. The 2 cops were treated for their injuries and released.
They try to get help for him. They try to get mental health workers to come in and try to see what was going on with him, and he refused it.
McCoy says he and his mother let Gordon live at their home in the Bronx for a few months, but ultimately they threw him out following frequent outbursts and uncontrollable anger. McCoy's mother, who didn't want to show her face on camera, says that decision may have saved their lives.
I'd wanted him out because when someone have mental issues, you never know when they're going to flip.
According to the Daily News, Gordon's aunt in Far Rockaway allowed him to move in a couple of weeks ago because he had been shuffling in and out of homeless shelters following a separation from his wife. Now the surviving family members are trying to make sense of the unthinkable.
This was not the same Courtney that I used to.
The 2 officers who intervened are 16 and 28-year veterans of the force. They are being hailed as heroes for stopping that stabbing rampage, but the state attorney's office is investigating Gordon's death at this time, which is protocol.
In Midwood, Brooklyn, students put on lockdown after a stabbing in the halls of their high school.
That attack happening at Edward R. Murrow High School. And while the teen is expected to be okay, many students are on edge, saying they don't feel safe going back to school tomorrow.
All right, Fox 5's Richard Giacobas joins us live outside the school in Midwood. Richard, walk us through exactly what happened.
What a day it's been here at Edward R. Murrow High School, with thousands of students released just a little while ago, but spending most of their day locked inside classrooms and getting searched for weapons after that 15-year-old was stabbed in the stomach, with the suspect allegedly fleeing the building on foot, with police searching and parents out here wondering what was going on. They became angry, they became upset because they couldn't get to their kids all day long.
It happened 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm here, nobody said anything.
As students watched from the windows at Edward R. Murrow High School, irate parents waited in the cold outside the front entrance for hours, demanding their children be dismissed.
You could have searched every part of this building in 6 hours.
This is crazy. Yolanda Washington had been texting with her daughter, a freshman here at school, all day.
He said, "Mom, I'm in a hard lockdown right now. I'm scared."
That was at 9:30 this morning. 6 hours later, Yolanda and dozens of other parents were finally reunited with their kids. The school day began when police say the call came in that a 15-year-old boy was stabbed with a knife in the stomach inside the school building by another student. The suspect, cops said, then fled. Once police arrived, they surrounded the school, placing the building on lockdown. According to a letter to parents sent by the school principal, the NYPD conducted a reverse scan of the building, meaning every student had to be searched for weapons before class could resume. Iana Washington is a freshman.
They searched our book bags through metal detectors, and they also make sure that we didn't have any metal on us. If we did, that they had to make sure that it wasn't any weapons or anything.
The 15-year-old was taken to Maimonides Hospital in stable condition with non-life-threatening injuries. But students here say they're still concerned that the 16-year-old who police say did stab the victim is still out there ahead of another school day tomorrow. And some of them don't even want to come back.
It was just a lot of emotions going through and a lot of frustrated kids. Like, we just all wanted to go home.
You gonna go to school tomorrow?
No, I don't want to.
Just a day later in the Bronx, another act of violence in one of the city's schools.
They searched us. We went through like metal detectors.
It was hectic. It made getting to class, it made us late. It made it hard for a lot of the students to be punctual.
The day after one of their classmates got stabbed in the stomach, students at Edward R. Murrow High School in Midwood, Brooklyn are living a new reality.
They're all over the hallways now. They're always like patrolling, checking to make everybody go to class and not skip.
The New York City Department of Education confirming that scanning did take place inside the high school today for every student who showed up to class. A welcome relief to parents, some who dropped their kids off this morning filled with fear.
Actually very nervous. I took off from work today just to bring him because, it was nerve-wracking last night.
Weapons seem to be a problem in some New York City public schools. Following this incident in Brooklyn, police say a 12-year-old girl was slashed by another 14-year-old student with a knife in a Bronx classroom this morning at JHS James M. Kieran School in Soundview. The 12-year-old is expected to be okay. The DOE says the school was placed on hold and students were scanned.
You send your kid to school to be safe. They're responsible while they're in school. It's to watch them. Look at that. The little girl got stabbed in her leg. It's crazy.
Also in the Bronx today at the Fannie Lou Hamer Freedom School, police say a 16-year-old boy was caught bringing a gun to class. These incidents come as Mayor Eric Adams announced the city will hire 120 new school safety agents. This comes just weeks after the mayor's administration abruptly canceled a class of 250 agents over budget concerns. In a statement, the union who represents the safety agents said, quote, parents, teachers, and students watched as a class of 250 needed school safety agents was canceled. Now, after record school violence, we hear 120 new agents. We're down 2,000 with retirements on the way. What has to happen before the politicians wake up?
I've seen this school go through many phases of glory, and at a certain point, you have to be able to say, we need to keep security as a top priority.
In Upper Manhattan, bodega workers in the city announced they're taking their safety into their own hands.
The United Bodegas of America announced hundreds of bodega workers are now legally licensed to carry concealed guns. The group says this is in an effort to deter deadly crimes from taking place in their stores. Michelle Ross explains.
Bodega owners say that they have created the secret society of gun owners because they're now taking their safety into their own hands. Now, this isn't to have a permit to kill, but a permit to defend themselves.
Anyone that's out there looking to rob us, hurt us, kill us, beware, you may be walking into the wrong bodega, because now we have the same firepower you have.
Hundreds of bodega owners in New York City are now legal gun owners. This was nearly a 2-year process, and the United Bodegas of America says it took this long because they wanted to do it safely, legally, and secretly. And the knowledge of which bodega owners carrying a concealed gun will be kept a secret.
You don't want anyone to shoot you before they rob you because they know you have a weapon.
The announcement was made at the UBA headquarters in Inwood, where the courses are held by duly authorized instructors like Johnny Nunez. He's a retired NYPD sergeant and former police academy instructor.
Having a firearm is a defensive tool. It's a defensive tool. It's not an offensive tool to be used when your life or the life of another human being is, in keywords, imminent danger.
The group says its only intended use is to prevent themselves or someone in their store from getting killed. In 2015, Junior Guzman Feliz, the 15-year-old boy who was brutally murdered in the Bronx, sought shelter in a bodega before he was dragged out and killed. Last summer, Jose Alba was working behind the counter of a Harlem bodega when this person aggressively shoved him. Alba fatally stabbed the man in self-defense.
They're not out here to provoke any incidents. We are trained to de-escalate situations, but we are also trained to use a firearm if we have to.
Barbara Moretta has owned a bodega since 2015. She's considering applying for a license through the group.
When they see a woman, they think they can do everything, But if I have my gun, so I think it's better for the store.
And as more bodega owners apply and obtain their permits within this secret society, it will remain a secret society.
Next, we catch a train to Bushwick as strap hangers shared their subway horror stories.
While the numbers may show that subway crime is down, there are many incidents that either don't get reported or don't rise to the level of criminal activity. Still, they are unnerving.
All right, Fox 5's Arthur Chan spoke with the riders about some of their subway stories.
A lot of the times when we bring you stories that have to do with the subway system, it's when something really big has happened, right? And police have been called. Acknowledging that, we wanted to come down here and talk to New Yorkers about things that might not rise to that level, but still holds a very big presence in their lives.
I feel like every night I see something, right?
Sam is one of the countless subway riders out there with a story to tell. Times Square is his station, and though he's by no means small, he says he is always on his toes.
Every single night, like those stations, they're like, it's really difficult to feel safe. No matter, even if nothing is happening, like, eventually something is gonna happen. Oh my God, that was like 2 weeks ago. I was in the L train under the bridge going from Bedford to First Avenue, and somebody started screaming like, "Get off the train right now, get off the train, get off the train." And it was like this huge pile of people running into everybody.
Sam's Times Square station was in the headlines last year after Michelle Go was shoved to her death onto the tracks of an oncoming train. Her murder exacerbated by the fact that in life she dedicated her free time to those in need, just like the man who was arrested for killing her. For women who ride the subways, like Sienna, there seems to be no shortage of disturbing behavior to endure.
Someone spat on me on the subway, and that was really pretty traumatizing.
Anahi echoes another form of criminality that targets women. She too has unwanted stories to share.
I actually have been, molested. One day I was going on my way to work again, and walking up the stairs, a man came and tried to grab my behind. And that is, as a woman, as you say, it's very uncomfortable to be dealing with that type of situation.
From sexual harassment to assault cases to murder cases, we report on instances that the NYPD investigates. The official NYPD stats show a picture of crime in decline in the subways, in part a result of changes, including the city adding additional patrol officers into the system, and a change in techniques like positioning officers to check in with conductors who might report activity to police to address. But the simple truth is, countless New Yorkers who run into awful situations tell us they don't even call 911, and that includes both Sam and Anahi.
No. Like never, and not because I don't think they're needed. I just don't think the response is gonna be quick enough, or I just think it's more like just look down and wait, because eventually it's gonna be over.
Because honestly, I don't call 911 because they're not gonna be as on top of the situation as it should be. They're gonna give you a rundown, make you write a report, and they're gonna check on you. They never check on you. So I don't feel like there's a point to have to reach out to NYPD.
We have strategies in place to address these kinds of issues, right? So in this instance, again, we have cameras throughout our system. We're starting to add more cameras on subway cars.
On the same day we spoke with these subway riders, New York City Transit President Richard Davey was responding to questions from reporters about a shooting inside a subway car on a C train in Brooklyn. A teenager and a man in his 40s were shot.
For our riders, it's got to be unsettling, there's no doubt. Right?
While Davey says these instances are rare and points out to the fact that there were 4 million subway riders that day, and NYPD data shows subway shootings are down 25% this year, the picture does not match with Sam's perception and that of other riders we speak with. Remember what Sam said when we first met him?
I feel like every night I see something, right?
And with that disconnect, riders tell us how they avoid becoming another subway story, knowing when to avoid eye contact and being ready to move out of a subway car.
I think when it escalates, I just switch from another train or go a little further, try to get away from the situation. I think that's a way better solution.
Back in Manhattan, New Yorkers rally at City Hall, calling for stricter e-bike rules in the 5 boroughs.
At this intersection in July of 2020, 74-year-old Carol Wilson was walking home. She ended up in the hospital with head trauma.
I saw a bike coming straight at me. I had the walk signal. I was in the crosswalk. I froze.
Okay, so I wanted to bring something out in this video. They mentioned somebody with a mental illness, that plays a part as well. And then they also mentioned that they didn't feel safe down in the subway, but they still didn't, the citizens of New York, they don't call the police because they said that the police takes their time or doesn't get there in time. And the thing, the crime is already happened, excuse me. So these plays a key point to what's going on in with crimes. I've actually discussed this before, that mental illness and policemen not being quick enough, this caused more issues. It caused more problems, within the community, to have more crime. Now, I'm not saying the video that I first showed you at the beginning, that guy who was pulled out on the stretcher had a mental illness, but you're going to find out that the mayor, I'm going to say it again, he said that the crime rate was going down. So if it was going down, why is it all these people talking about that they don't feel safe? And things are happening and things are not getting solved. But we're first going to discuss, mental illness first. We're going to first go over that. All right, so I'm first going to talk about crime and mental illness in New York City, framing the challenge for the new mayor. Right, so we're going to go over the challenge that he's going to have to face and he's going to have to fix. This report will take stock of these efforts and frame the debate on crime and mental illness for the new mayor. Chief findings include, in absolute terms, the number of seriously mentally ill people in jail NYC has declined in recent years, tracking the jail decline more generally. In relative terms, though, the rate of serious mental illness remains as high as ever, above 50%, compared with about 50% for the general adult population. This means that while general reforms aimed at reducing the jail population have kept some seriously mentally ill out of jail, the more targeted interventions designed for their specific benefit have been less effective. Average length of stay in the jail has been increasing for inmates with any mental disorder. Inmates with any mental disorder and who have been charged with a violent felony constitute a growing share of the city jail population. Concerns about public disorder remain present, as reflected in press conference and 311 data. New York is host to more than 13,000 seriously mentally ill homeless adults. That number rose throughout the de Blasio years. If Mayor Eric Adams seeks to effect further reduction in the jail population by reducing the rate of mental illness, he should focus on the following: protect the integrity of mental health courts. This will require avoiding sentencing reforms that make participation in mental health courts unattractive. Reduce the rate of substance abuse among criminal offenders via dissent mandates. Speak honestly and forthrightly above the problem of violent mentally ill offenders. Seeks the reduction of inpatient psychiatric beds and increase use of outpatient civil commitment. So mental health, you do have to have a good plan for your mentally ill citizens so that they won't harm others or harm themselves. I've talked about this several times on this channel. It depends on what state you live in. I talked about Kansas. I might show you an image of what the video I had made back in the past, but I've talked about this. This plays a very huge part. If the person is not taking their pills and not seeking help, they're going to commit crimes. They're going to hurt people and they're going to harm others. So they gotta make sure that mental health people with mental health, they have to have a plan. They have to make sure that they're getting very good treatment. So I'm going to play a video about some incidents that has happened down the subway. And we're also going to talk about the subway because the subway is not protected up there in New York, apparently. So let me play this video for you guys.
Subway rattling riders and threatening the city's recovery from COVID. Tonight, state and local leaders say a new crime-fighting plan will help stop attacks like this one at the Wyckoff and Myrtle Avenue stations in Bushwick, Brooklyn. This happened yesterday. Video shows a man pushing a 32-year-old stranger off the platform. That victim was not hurt, but the suspect escaped. Thankfully, that person should make a full recovery, but the state says there have been at least 9 homicides on the subway this year, and that includes 4 just in the last 3 weeks in the Bronx, Queens, and Brooklyn. So to combat the crime, a new safety initiative announced today called Cops, Cameras, Care. And News 4's Adam Harding starts us off with what it's all about. Adam?
All right, so let's look at these 3 key headlines here from that new initiative, Gilma, that was just announced a couple of hours ago. Cops, it is simply about redeploying certain officers in various subway stations across the city. We already know the state has been working toward putting hundreds of cameras, about 200 have already been installed on subway cars, and the CARE, healthcare outreach program, and more specialized training for those officers. You touched on those 9 homicides. City leaders say 40% of those have involved somebody with some type of mental health issue. It is why subway safety is so paramount right now. But tonight, not everyone thinks that this new plan is going to work the way investigators hope it does.
Tonight, new video of the man investigators are searching for. Police say he can be seen here charging at a 32-year-old subway rider before shoving the victim onto the tracks Friday in an unprovoked attack.
This has been a tough couple of weeks.
The head of the MTA today joined by the governor, mayor, and police chief at Grand Central Station to unveil their new plan to tackle crime underground.
Let's be honest, for a long time, elected officials looked at the MTA and kept the challenges the MTA comes across cyclically at arm's length. That's not what's happening here.
They call it the 3 C's: cops, cameras, and care.
My top priority as the governor of the state of New York is to keep New Yorkers safe.
The governor says part of the plan includes MTA police focusing their resources on stations linked to major commuter rail hubs, a move in turn that allows NYPD officers to increase coverage across the subway system.
More uniform officers on the trains and the platform, omnipresence. People have stated over and over again they feel better and safer when that uniform officer is there, and we're zeroing in on that focus.
The beefed up police presence will include overtime hours. City leaders say there has been a drop in crime, but with 9 homicides this year and a system plagued with negative headlines recently, even they hear the growing frustration.
It's not just stats. We can give you stats all day. The question is, how do New Yorkers feel? We can tell New Yorkers all the time that we have decreased crimes in certain areas, but if New Yorkers don't feel safe, we are failing.
Do you ever have safety concerns when you're riding the subway?
Of course, all the time.
Kishana Rodriguez says she has her concerns.
Honestly, the protection. You know, like from wondering about whether you're going to be safe today, if you're going to make it, is it going to hurt you, are they going to touch you, stuff like that.
And Gilma, then there's this tonight from the PBA president, a new statement calling the actions that were outlined today unsustainable. In that statement, they go on to say that our city must immediately boost pay and improve working conditions in order to recruit and retain enough police officers. The statement goes on to say that is the only way to provide real safety in the subway rather than the illusion of omnipresence. Subway riders tonight hopeful this new plan cuts down on the crime underground. We're live tonight outside of Grand Central Station. I'm Adam Harding, News 4 New York.
This video I'm going to show is, the mayor of, the state. He's going to talk about how, the crime rate is going down and how they're going to fix the issues. Like it's, the crime rate is really not that bad, but they've been having a talk about the crime rate since, I believe, 2022, if I'm not mistaken. It's been for a while, ever since after 2020, things have been getting out of hand for for a lot of states, when it comes to money, food, and crime. Like everything's I will say that after 2020, things have gotten worse, and I feel like people are not taking it seriously, especially with a place like New York where they claim that the crime is down. So yeah, I'm gonna play this video for you guys and tell me what you think.
Combine the recidivism with severe mental health illness. 50% of the people at Rikers Island are dealing with mental health issues, and 18% are severe. And then you add the random acts of violence to that. All of them played out last night. Pushing someone on the subway track, random act of violence, a recidivist shooting an innocent person, a person with severe mental health illness. You do an analysis of all of these reporting that you're doing, and you're going to keep coming up with the same 3 items: severe mental health, random act of violence, recidivism, over and over again. And what's interesting is that our practices, laws, and policies are not going after those three issues. We're up in Albany right now fighting to put teeth to the Kendra's law so we can institute a process of removing those who are.
So I want to put that out there. The crime is not just it's not just happening by mental illness people with mental illness. It's other crimes out there too that's being committed by people without mental illness. So the next video I'm going to show you is about a guy he's a boyfriend. He got in a heated argument with his girlfriend and he pushed her on the train tracks. And it's severe. I think it's severed. Yeah, it severed her 2 feet. Y'all gotta hear this. This is crazy.
An NYPD responding to an attack at the Fulton William Street subway station Saturday morning, where police say a 29-year-old woman got into an argument with her boyfriend that turned violent. Investigators say the boyfriend pushed the woman onto the tracks, an oncoming 3 train amputating both of her feet, according to detectives.
She may never be able to walk again, and that's what we've been saying. This is just one of many instances that we've been seeing this year alone.
While that attack appears to have been targeted, city data shows subway crimes are on the rise, with a 13% spike in violence compared to the same time last year. Just last week, police say this man slashed a 27-year-old man in the hand on the A train. A day earlier, detectives say a man slashed an MTA conductor in the neck on the C train. This latest attack comes just days after Governor Kathy Hochul announced her 5-point subway safety plan to make subways safer, including deploying the National Guard into stations to help police conduct bag checks. She appeared on Pix 11 News to talk about that plan.
They're there just as a deterrent to those who might think that they can get away with committing crime. So this is to supplement what the NYPD is already doing during this time of heightened anxiety and concern.
But transit workers are calling that plan a temporary fix. They rallied outside her office Friday, demanding better protections, with at least 8 MTA workers brutalized so far this year on the job.
I've been assaulted 4 times and an attempted sexual assault.
The recent string of violence has subway riders on high alert, hoping for permanent solutions.
It puts you on edge and makes you want to be more aware. I don't know if there's any specific almost MTA security system that could be put in place. I think that would make people feel more comfortable.
And we are still waiting to hear back from the New York National Guard about whether or not troops were deployed to the station at the time of that attack. Now, as for that woman's boyfriend, who police say pushed her onto the tracks, investigators say they have a person of interest in custody. No charges pending at this hour.
Now, get to the top. I need you to come from here.
When you work with someone.
Hello, thank you for calling. Get up! Come on, Miyuki, watch where you're throwing those things.
Okay, so you hear from the mouth what happened. They're supposed to be having, I've been hearing this lately about the subway for a while now. They're supposed to be getting protection down there. These are old stories coming up to now. They're supposed to be getting protection down there in that subway, more security guards, more policemen, and they keep saying they're going to do it and they haven't done it yet. We keep hearing these plans, how they want to protect the city. If the crime rate is down, why is, all of this is going on down there in that subway? I'm just saying. I mean, that's crazy. You going down in a tunnel to go catch a train and you possibly can get pushed off or get knocked upside your head down there and get felt up on. That's another thing. The women down there are getting felt up on too as well. So it's a mess. The next thing I want to discuss is about the immigrants. There is a immigrants issue up there right now, currently in NYC, pretty much across America. But I understand that immigrants are significantly less likely to commit crimes than the U.S. born citizen. But there has been issues going on with the immigrants. The immigrants, people, they can't take care of their Americans. Half of the Americans are homeless, but they can provide, free housing, give them food stamps and all the care and stuff that they need, right? But I wanted to bring out something really important. Texas actually send all these asylum seekers, which are the immigrants, the people who's migrating from somewhere else, the immigrants. He send them to other states. Like there's an article here where he sent them to other states. So let me read this to you guys. At the direction of Texas Republican Governor Greg Abbott, the Lone Star State that has bused over 90,000 migrants to sanctuary cities run by Democrats like Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, Philadelphia, Denver, and Los Angeles since April 2022, according to numbers released by the governor's office Friday. Very alarming. Very alarming. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play two videos of yourself. One video happened in Texas, but the other video is about what they're doing about the immigrants and how they just moving them all over the place. So let me play this for you guys.
Set to visit the southern border in early January amid a surge of migrant crossings. Alejandro Mayorkas is scheduled to visit Eagle Pass, Texas, for a meeting with federal and local officials. Now, it comes on the heels of his visit alongside Secretary of State Antony Blinken to Mexico City earlier this week to discuss the influx with Mexico's president and his cabinet. December saw more than 225,000 migrant encounters at the border. That's the largest number in more than 2 decades. The number of unaccompanied migrant children crossing into the U.S. has spiked in recent years, leaving thousands in the custody of the federal government. There are currently 11,700 migrant children in U.S. custody. That's according to data from the Health Department and Homeland Security. The number of kids in custody has increased 6.5% since December 1st. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says his state has bused more than 92,000 migrants to other states since April of last year. Operation Lone Star, the name of Abbott's busing directive, has bused tens of thousands of migrants to so-called sanctuary cities across the country. Last week, the Republican governor signed a controversial state law which gives local law enforcement the power to arrest migrants and give judges the ability to issue orders to remove migrants from the U.S. On Thursday, the Justice Department threatened to sue Texas over
A woman with a child attempts to enter the U.S. by crossing the Rio Grande River as the Texas National Guard watches but does not intervene. Eventually, the woman makes her way back to the Mexican side with the child in hand. In a statement to CNN, the Texas Military Department said, quote, Texas National Guard soldiers approached by boat and determined that there was no signs of medical distress, injury, or incapacitation, and they had the ability to return the short distance back to the Mexican shore. The soldiers remained on site to monitor the situation, end quote. A U.S. Customs and Border Protection airboat also passed the woman and child without stopping. CNN has reached out to CBP for a comment.
So you just saw those two videos. The second video that really broke my heart. But they're going to just scoop her up and probably put her right back over there, back in, Mexico. But as you can see, this immigration thing is kind of out of hand. But I will let you know they are talking about making plans and stuff like that. But in the meantime, they're talking about 100 migrants now facing eviction from NYC shelters and how they're going to fix things up for them later on. Like I said, they're already giving them free stuff. So they're already giving them, housing, food, money and stuff like that. Now, who do you think is paying for that? Okay.
Mayor says the move's necessary in order to ease the strain of the migrant crisis on the city.
Some critics say that the evictions are inhumane and will lead to a rise in street homelessness. Joining us now to talk about these concerns is Mayor Adams. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be on with you again.
So the migrant crisis has really divided the city, and we know that it's placed such an enormous strain on the city's budget. Who's going to be part of this first wave of evictions?
Those after 30 days or 90 days, they are told that it's time to transition to the next step on their journey. And as we stated, over 65% of the people who who reach this level have gone on to the next step of their journey. That can include the housing, going to other municipalities, staying with family members, loved ones, and this has been a successful tool that we had to use to bring down the over 194, actually almost 198,000 migrants and asylum seekers entering the city.
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue, no doubt about it. Everyone will agree on that. You know, some of the numbers our reporter Morgan spoke about earlier. 250 migrants were up for eviction today, 200 applied for the extension, and 100 received an extension for housing. Is that sort of in line with how you envision this working out, that, you know, over time, more and more people will move on from the city housing?
And that's the goal. Can you imagine if we didn't use these types of tools? We would still have almost 198,000 people in our care. We already had a $4 billion price tag associated with this. Staying in permanent shelters, or HERCs as we call them, is not what we need to do. We need to allow people to get the support they need and then transition on the next step in their journey.
Of course, some of the critics, Mr. Mayor, are now arguing that this 30-day rule is not going to give migrants enough time to find alternative housing. How's that being addressed, and where are they able to go?
Well, you know, New York, 8.3 million people, 38 million opinions. You know what I find fascinating? Some of the same people that are saying don't do the 30-day time rule, they're saying they don't want shelters in their location. We have to be consistent. New York can't say you could come from anywhere on the globe, stay as long as you want on taxpayers' dime to feed, house, clothe an individual. That is just not right for New York taxpayers. We should all be unified about allowing people to work. And national leaders, national immigrant leaders have looked at what we have done and said this is one of the most humane, well-organized initiatives that they have witnessed.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Along that line, have you seen people's tolerance maybe for the cost of housing migrants go down as they've seen the budget issues it causes elsewhere, whether it's school cuts, library cuts, etc.? Are you getting a sense that people are coming to a different position on this when it comes to there has to be some sort of time limits on the housing?
And New Yorkers are saying that we are extremely benevolent as a city. Our heart is endless, but our resources, we can't just think that it can last forever. There must be tools that we use to allow people to transition. And when you stay in the system this long, you begin to normalize that. And we can do it in a humane, compassionate way, and we have. I think New Yorkers have extended themselves. I met with a group of faith leaders this morning who want to be a part of this initiative, and we're going to continue to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. No easy task, Mr. Mayor. Okay,
yes,
so
yes.
There is some positive housing news today. I mean, for the first time in 15 years, the city will reopen its waiting list for Section 8 housing choice applications. What's this going to mean for New Yorkers?
200,000 potential people could have an opportunity to see what we're doing with NYCHA, everything from the NYCHA Land Trust to free high-speed broadband for those who are in NYCHA, to looking at the other programs to deal with the multi-billion-dollar gap. We want New Yorkers to see NYCHA as part of our overall housing goal. We included in our housing plan for the first time this was done, and we believe that opening up this waiting list has said a lot for those who have been waiting for so long to have sustainable housing like our public housing system.
Yeah, you know, and along the housing issue, which is such a key issue, and always has been really for New York when it comes to the cost of housing, affordable housing, etc., there have been some interesting developments as far as the city planning board saying the owners of 64 New York City office buildings have expressed interest in converting their properties into housing. Tell us about how this could work, because this does really seem to solve a host of problems all at once. You've got the empty skyscrapers in Midtown. They're not, technically can't be used to turn them into housing right now, but there's an effort to sort of take all that space and put it to better use, it seems like.
Well said, and hats off to the governor, Speaker Hasty, and Majority Leader Andrew Stewart-Cousin and the team up in Albany. We went there, we presented the plan with Deputy Mayor Maria Torres-Springer and Tiffany Raspberry, and they said this is a good thing to do. 138 million square feet of vacant office space. converting it into housing, similar to what we did back when I was a lieutenant in the police department after September 11th. That was a daytime community. Now it's a 24-hour community. We saw more housing, and those office spaces can be converted into housing. We're really excited about this. It's a win-win, as you indicated, on both ends.
Yeah, it is really interesting. We do want to talk about really quickly your federal corruption investigation into your 2021 campaign. So there's now a report that a former aide is cooperating with the federal corruption investigation. Have the feds reached out to you?
No, not at all. And we are clear. Listen, I spent 22 years as a police officer, state senator, lawmaker. I'm going to follow the law and follow the rules. I sleep well at night because I know that's what I do. And we're going to cooperate whatever way possible with this inquiry.
You know, and there's one thing, there's a new statewide Siena poll that came out today that showed support for peaceful demonstrations on campus, but also favored police breaking it up if it went too far. I'm just curious how you felt about that. And now that this dust has sort of settled a little bit from all the tensions we saw on campus only a few weeks ago, what your reaction is to how that all went down and the role the city played.
It was the same thing I was hearing every day as I walked the streets. New Yorkers, we really take pride in our.
All right, you can go watch the rest of the video. I'm gonna put links down below so you can see it for yourself. It talks about that this plan that is gonna be housing some people, not all. What's there happens to the rest of the people? I did know that one time they were offering the United States citizen to open up their homes to the immigrants, which people are not gonna do that. And then I get that they're trying to fix this situation. I see that they're trying to fix the problem, but if if I'm a person who's an immigrant and I'm getting thrown around like this, and I'm constantly saying that they're going to fix the problem, and if they run out of resources for these people, they are going to commit crimes and stuff like that. And that's why they have to do something now with these immigrants, because there were crimes that were committed, you know? So I want to put that out there. Let me go over some of the crimes that were committed. Um, beyond reckless teen migrant charged with attempt murder in the Times Square shooting. Migrant charged in Syracuse murder and carried corpse right past cops and got away with it. Video. Illegal accused of RN and NY teen after slipping into San Diego from Turkey. So it just goes on and on and on and on. So they're gonna have to do something to help these people. But like I said, there's a lot of things that's going on with New York up there. And then not only that, the inflation. I see the videos of people talking about how expensive it is to live up there in New York. So you still get more homeless people in the street. If there's homeless people, like I said, that's another thing too that would drive people crazy to go harm people. They're gonna look for food. They need something to drink. They're gonna go harm somebody to get that. Or they might have sexual desires. They're gonna go harm somebody. So it's just crazy. So my final thoughts, I really do hope that these plans work. I really do. I'm not even lying, because what I've been seeing online is ridiculous. And it's not just New York. Like I said, it's other states in the United States, and it's other things that's going on around the globe too. That everybody has, every countries have their own issues. But I really do hope New York, really does get together. They've been having issues since, I mean, pretty much all this time. This crime, like I say, is everywhere. But they've been having issues since the pandemic, okay? And they had to deal with, the virus. And now they're dealing with the crime rate. Like, they can't tell if it's up or down. And I hope this mayor plans work. That's all I gotta say. But going back to the original video, it just goes to show you that these NYC citizens, they had enough. You clearly hear it in the video. They seem like they're tired of it, of the crime that's going on there in New York. And it seemed like people are just giving it a blind eye. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it out and say, I feel like people are just giving a blind eye to it. There's so many issues with the mental illness and the migrants and things that's happening down there in that subway. They need to have I really do hope that they have security or somebody like a police authority figure down there making sure that people stay safe. I'm not just down in the subway but all over the New York. And I've talked about this so many times on this channel, and I know YouTube doesn't like it because they really don't push it, but I really do hope this gets across to people. This is like things that I enjoy talking about because we need to talk more about crime that's going on in the United States. We can't sit here and say that things are getting better and the crime rate is getting low. That is a bunch of bull. I'm tired of seeing, I live in a rural area of Florida, and I'm tired of seeing all the cops over here in this countryside of Florida. We need more cops in Orlando, Jacksonville, Miami. That's where all the crime is happening at, with the bigger cities in New York. Y'all don't need to all be in the rural area giving out tickets. That's all y'all doing in the countryside, just giving out a whole bunch of tickets. So, like I said, I talked about this crime, mental health, homeless, eviction. I've talked about this before in the past, and I'm going to continue to keep talking about it. I know a lot of people don't like to discuss it, but we need to discuss these issues that is going on because this affect not only me but everybody. But let me know what you think down below in the comment area. But as for now, see y'all later. Peace.